Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Down and Dirty. Today we have with us Vivek Sundaram, Product Strategist at Fyno. But what an illustrious background. IIM Bangalore, NIT Trichy, worked product at Hopscotch, at CaratLane, lots of B2C experience it seems, and also now B2B experience with Fyno. And what I loved the most when I was going through your profile was product design, strategy, and research. So that's quite a holistic background to understanding the consumer experience, both from just doing research, but also then designing solutions for them. And really happy to have you on the show. Thanks so much. Do you want to, I'm just going to turn the mic to you and please introduce yourself in a sentence or two before we dive in.
Sure. Yeah. So thanks, Topsy. So thanks for the introduction. So yeah, I think like you mentioned, my career has been started with technology as a backend developer. Then post my MBA, kind of actually started into analytics. Then moved into product, primarily into B2C products with the Hopscotch, CaratLane and FanCode. Right. So during that time, I was able to learn lots of stuff which you mentioned, right? The user research, design, consumer behavior, and a lot more, right? And so currently I am with Fyno. It's a B2B SaaS platform. And this is my first stint in B2B, right? And I was always curious about B2B as a product, right? Because I never tried my hands at it. So that's how this opportunity came in and I want to just take a stab at it. So that's how the journey at Fyno started.
Fantastic. So could you walk me through a day in your life as a product strategist at Fyno? What does your day start with and how does it end?
So I'll compare both like B2C and B2B, right? So at least even for me also, it's kind of a long, it's a huge learning curve, how a B2B firm operates, right? So we are Fyno is a seed stage startup, right? We are just a 15 to 16 member team. Right, so we are still figuring out our product market fit and where we want to go and everything, right? So there's a lot of ambiguity, right, compared to other firms where we know what we are building. It's a lot of ambiguity because we're just starting up, less than a year old, right? So mostly we used to have stand-ups 3 times a week, right? That's how mostly the day starts, where generally we have clear agenda, month-on-month agenda, where we kind of figure out exactly where we are at. Is there any blockers? Mostly from the tech point of view, right? The discussions will be more tech point of view. And I also used to sit on the customer calls, the sales calls. So I try to add that point of view also, like any particular requirements, anything which customers are looking for, which you don't have or which are still building. So I kind of make sure that part is also covered. So even all the technology team also aligned exactly what we are building and who we are building for. So mostly the day starts with that, right?
Yeah.
And post that, I think it's very, I mean, there is no clear structure to it because depends on that particular day what you are working on. But mostly there'll be a couple of sales calls, right? Where mostly myself and a couple of people from the sales team also do the demo. So it could be like first call will be mostly from the kind of introduction kind of a call, like kind of a discovery call to figure out exactly what is their problem statement and how Fyno fits into their problem statement. And one if that call, if you realize saying, okay, there is a fit, then subsequent calls will be with a broader team where technology team, product team member, someone senior from the organization also will join from the client end, right? And this, so there are different types of calls happens over a period of time. So those calls also I used to attend. And other than that, also I'll be working closely with business teams and the design team, right, to figure out what we are building for, right? Because those certain things are work in progress, but you need to kind of figure out like what is going to come up in the next month and so on, right? So for that, I'll be working closely with my design team members to kind of figure out the user experience bit, UI bit, and so those kind of things also happen parallelly. And over and above that, I work with business teams on the marketing communication, like how you want to pitch, how you want to onboard the users you are kind of signing up, right? How to make sure that the existing customers are informed about what are new product features you're thinking of, right? So basically, now it's not a B2C kind of marketing, but it's purely sending emails, sending Slack communication to the customers who who actually expected certain features and which were in the process of rolling out, right? So that the entire marketing communication, but also I get involved with the business teams to make sure that is going to the respective clients. So yeah, I mean, so it's a mismatch of sales, marketing, product design, right? And so since it's a small startup, I kind of get involved in lots of things. So this is what it is currently, right? And secondly, we also kind of have discussed with the founders to figure out exactly where we are going, right? In the long-term point of view, where we are heading, and for that, what we need to plan. So all those stuff also happens, but not on day-to-day basis, but um, on a regular basis to make sure that I am clear exactly. What are the areas I need to focus on, right? So this is how currently at least my day goes on. For example, if we compare that with a B2C company like CaratLane or Hopscotch or FanCode, right? So there it's lots of data, right? Because it's B2C, like you need to understand exactly where you are at in terms of revenue, your user growth, the clear metrics in terms of user growth and conversion, basically monetization, right? So mostly my day starts with looking at different dashboards and numbers where we are at, right? Is there any red flags in terms of conversion numbers, funnel numbers, how different platforms are working? So my day starts with looking at different dashboards. There are different tools like Mixpanel and Looker and all the other different tools we have used. And so then we basically based on any red flags, then obviously you have to figure what actions we need to take, because there might be a drop in the marketing traffic or there might be a drop in the funnel. So you need to talk to respective teams, a marketing team or technology team to figure out, okay, what happened, right? To understand and how to fix it immediately. So these things, that is how the day starts. And subsequently, obviously, I'll be sitting with my teams, right? My product teams to figure out exactly what are different initiatives which is going on, where we are at in terms of progress. Is there any blockers? Is there any inputs required from my end, right? For them to proceed, right? And also I work closely with my counterparts, my head of engineering, head of design, head of marketing to understand the plan for the subsequent month, the subsequent quarter, so that we will brainstorm a lot, saying, okay, these are things work in progress, these are things we want to do to achieve so and so target. For that, what are initiatives we can do? So we kind of brainstorm and then obviously pitch it to the senior leadership, like COO, CEO, saying, okay, this is what we're looking at, and get their inputs and kind of rework if there is any changes suggested by them, right? So this is how, I mean, particularly on the B2C side, is slightly different because data plays a bigger role, which is currently not where I am working, because since we're a small startup, there's not enough much data also. But B2C, the data plays a much bigger role. And over and above that, since the team is also much bigger, you have lots of different stakeholders who you have to, for example, when it comes to CaratLane, right? You have merchandising team, you have supply chain operations team, right? Customer service team, where you need to talk to understand customer issues and so on. So there are lots of different touch points in a B2C company, particularly when it comes to a company like Hopscotch or CaratLane, which is e-commerce, right? Compared to FanCode. So, and more during this day, we'll use the multiple different tools, right? For example, like Figma for design, or Monday for project management and kind of tracking of meetings and so on. Tools like Mixpanel, CleverTab for understanding analytics and understanding where we stand in terms of user engagement, retention, and tools like Miro for mostly from the brainstorming point of view. Because generally, I love to do whiteboarding. At office also, at home also, I used to have my whiteboards. I keep on writing whatever comes to my mind. So Miro kind of replicates digitally, right? And it's also a good collaboration tool where you can kind of put down your thoughts and kind of collaborate with different team members who sit across different locations, right? And kind of mostly this happens when we are building a future or building a roadmap, and kind of broadly thinking of certain ideas where we need a little more structure to it, right? So I use Miro a little more than other tools.
So it seems like when it comes to your B2B experience, it's more high touch as expected, right? The ticket sizes are larger, right? The engagement is longer because of the B2B setup. So that's why, a good part of your day is distributed towards customer success, where again, like the stakes are higher, whether it's attending sales calls or trying to figure it out with your product team, or the business side in terms of how to acquire more and retain.
Right.
So I can see that being a significant differentiator in how your day is set up in these two spaces. So as a product strategist now in Fyno, or at Fyno rather, what has been the most rewarding part of your work so far? What have you enjoyed?
See, the ambiguity is very high. So that is something I
Mm,
enjoy because I am one of the people responsible to define that or clear
mm,
ambiguity, right? And figure out exactly what you want to do, right?
right.
So I think that is something a little new for me and challenging also.
Mm,
Because at least in other firms, at least we have certain directions. For example, we know we are selling jewelry or we are selling
right.
sports content or selling kids e-commerce. But obviously, we'll be kind of expanding that portfolio and building lots of other stuff. And since
Correct.
it's being a very early stage and still figuring out the product market fit, so we know exactly what you're doing now, but
Yeah.
lots there's a huge scope to do a lot more than what you're currently doing. So there is the ambiguity comes in also, and that this is kind of challenging for him because I need to figure out exactly where we should go from this point on, right? And obviously, I'll be working closely with the founders and the founding team members,
Yeah.
ideate on lots of different things and see, okay, where we are at, what are the potential opportunities available,
Yeah.
and what areas we can explore, right? Because
Correct.
that is the strategy, right? Basically, we need to figure out like what direction we want to go. Then once
Correct.
it's fit, then obviously we have to go fast with that in the direction. So that is the challenging part. And second would be attending sales calls because this is the first time I'm doing this kind of sales calls. I used to
Mm,
do customer calling, talking to customers as part of my previous stints, right? But that is more about understanding the user behavior, understanding their problem statements, more from that point of view. Here it's more about pitching, right? The proper sales, basically. You are actually
yeah.
pitching the product and understanding their pain points because I have been on the other side, right? Because I used to evaluate lots of products and I know exactly what happens behind the scenes, right? It's not just you might like the product, but it might not get prioritized because of lots of other things in the
Right.
backlog, right? And maybe you like it, maybe you couldn't sell it to your stakeholders because they think this is not required now. So there are lots of things which happens when you're particularly buying a SaaS product like Fyno, right? So I can see that happening here also, right? When I'm talking to, because mostly I'll be pitching to someone from tech team or product team, right? In this,
Right.
so I can see their point of view also, and even they're interested. They I can understand their point of view, saying, okay, I like it, but currently I can't practice it because of so and so reason. So we'll take a look a couple of months later, right? So for me also, it's a kind of learning experience being on the other side of the table, right? To see how things work out. So this is a challenging aspect, but I'm enjoying it also. I'm also learning the sales pitch part of it, like how to do that, what's the right way to do it, right? And so on.
And if I had to flip the question and say, what have you found um, not that interesting or exciting? I wouldn't necessarily say challenging because it sounds like the ambiguity is something that's, that is exciting and challenging. Because if there's something that, you could do without in your job, is there any part of that?
What I would say I miss is the data part because
Ah,
that is one of my biggest strengths. The
mm,
data analytics part is one of my biggest strengths. So not doing that, maybe I would say I miss that currently, right, at this point of time, because I've been used to it for a long time, like working with a huge amount
got
of
it.
data, understanding the insights and data patterns and take actions based on that. So that is something which comes naturally to me. And I believe that is something I miss at Fyno.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's talk about in your current role as in the B2B space. You mentioned a bunch of tools that you've used in the B2C space as well, but let's talk about B2B. What do you find yourself using on a regular basis in your current profile? All the different types of touch points, different tools.
See, currently, mostly I use either Notion for documentation, like any
Mm,
ideation, all the stuff for sharing it within the team members, and Miro mostly for brainstorming and for me to kind of put down different thought process and structure my thoughts. So these are two tools which I currently use frequently.
got it. And which tool are we going to be talking about today?
So I think we can talk about Miro because that is something which I use almost on a day-to-day basis, right? And since it's a collaboration tool that I keep kind of putting down my thoughts just for myself also, and also
Yeah.
sometimes when I need to get input from others and I want to collaborate with others, and I share it with others also. So yeah, I think we can talk about Miro.
Okay. So before we get into a screen share, why don't you walk me through why collaboration is such an important part of what you do, and who are you collaborating with?
See, collaboration, because as if you are a product manager, right? Actually, you are collaborating with almost all the important stakeholders across the organization, right? Because it's not like you decide something and going to execute everything on your own, right? Maybe you're kind of trying to convert the vision of your CEOs or your senior management, right? But
Yeah.
so you have certain ideas, right? Certain way
Yeah.
of solving the problem, right?
Yeah.
And obviously, the best thing you should do is like obviously gather as much ideas as possible across
Yeah.
the organization, right? So that is where also what I realize personally is like more than written document, visualization always helps when communicating with different stakeholders, because certain
Right.
people, everyone doesn't like to read bigger documents. Unfortunately, that is the case, right? I mean, though I like to
Yeah.
write a lot, but unfortunately, everyone doesn't spend that much time reading
Yeah.
document. So visualization, again, they'll be able to connect with the idea easily, right? And also the tool like Miro makes it very easy to comment on whatever you want to write. It's just as well as just writing
Yeah.
any comment in, like how you're writing a comment in a Word doc or anything, right? And so from that point of view, generally like the visualization bit, because you're able to connect with different stakeholders, particularly when you're working with designers, technology, someone from marketing, someone from sales team, right? So everyone has their own way of understanding the problem, right? Some will be very
Yeah.
analytical, some will be very creative, right? For example,
Yeah.
talking to someone from the brand team, right? They may not be analytical. They think more from a creative point of view. So I should
Yeah.
be able to connect with all the different audiences, right? So for that, I think tools like Miro or Figma, right? These tools helps you to communicate what you want to convey. And the beauty of Miro is like they give lots of different templates, like kind of off-the-shelf templates, which you can kind of just start and just you can basically start using it. Basically, you don't have to build it from scratch, right? Just
Right.
you preview
So it's
or
saving you time as well.
yeah, and
Exactly.
for different problems, for example, if you want to kind of, you can do a simple flowchart, or you can simply do a mind map, or customize a
Yeah.
journey, or you can do a 2x2 matrix, or whatever you want, right? For different
Yeah.
problems to kind of visualize in a different way, and it makes your life much easier because you can just start immediately. You can start putting down your ideas as soon as possible. From that point of view, I think I really like using Miro a lot.
Miro. And do you remember how you first came across Miro? How
Uh,
long has it been?
It's been must be, I think 4 to 5 years, not
Okay.
4 years plus, I guess, not more than that. I don't remember exactly when I came across,
Yeah.
but I extensively used it for last 3 to 4 years for sure, right? And before that, I don't know. I never used any. So I used to use tools like Draw.io and basic flowchart related tools and stuff I have used before, but not something like Miro.
So there was actually no competitor in your works, you know, perspective or experience. There was no competitor before Miro.
So I don't know why I didn't use it, but I think there are
Huh.
competitors for Miro. I think there
No, no,
are.
I know there are, but in your use case, you didn't use
Ah,
anything similar to
correct,
Miro before.
correct. Yeah. So I mostly use paper and pencil. I generally keep drawing in my
Right.
pad, or so that is how I generally do it. I think Miro I randomly came across. I don't remember exactly when did
Yeah.
I come across, but once I start using it, I really start loving it, right? And it makes my life
Got it.
much easier.
Got it. Got it. Oh, how's the learning curve of the tool? The first time or the first few times when you started using it, was it easy, or do you feel like you had to
Uh,
learn
it's
it?
it's easier. Basically, you need to know exactly what you want, because they have
Hmm.
so many options available. So you need to know exactly how you want to visually present what you're thinking, right? And that is a critical point.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get lost because there are too many templates. You might get lost what to use and all. So I think it's more about trial and error. Also, try different templates and see what works, what doesn't work, right? And then figure out, okay, for this particular concept, I can use this template and go on.
Got it. So one of the things that you said that you liked about the tool is that you can bring in many different types of stakeholders, onto a single canvas and visually convey, a point or discussion. how do you feel the experience has been of other stakeholders who have had to come onto this because you've sent an invite? You know, sometimes a steep, like Notion, for example, is not particularly everyone's cup of tea.
Correct.
So how has it been working with other parties in Miro?
See, I think compared to Notion, because Notion, to be honest, it's a little complicated. It's not that straightforward. You can use it for lots of things, but simple documentation, yes, it helps a lot. But if you want to do project management, everything, like it will be a little more messy. I think compared to that, I think Miro, from the collaboration point of view, I would say it's as easy as possible. I mean, because at best, what you are expected to do is like make them add comments basically, right? We want other collaborators to add comments and to see what others are commenting. Basically, you want that to be done easily, right? And I think from that point of view, I think that's the easiest tool. I think anyone across your can easily adopt.
Got it. Got it. Okay, I have a few more questions, but let's get into the screen share and let me anchor my questions in what you take us through. So let me just give you permission. Give me 1 second. There you go. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So I'll just show you some sample ones which I have done long time back.
Sure.
So, for example, see, I'll just start with the landing page, right? So this is how it looks, right? Like, and this is what the Miroverse is. This is something very cool, and basically all the frameworks you can see, right? And they talk about, for example, if you want user flows like simple charts and stuff, you can just start using it. And if you want, for example, what do you say? These are very complex ones, but if you want to get into like project life cycle and everything, so you can use something like this. And journey map, this is something always used between product managers and designers, right? Particularly when you're doing some user research, when you want to understand the entire user journey, right? These are the journey map framework. It's really good to start with, right? And there's so many things, like you mentioned, that you need to know exactly what you want, because otherwise you'll get lost, because there's so many different available, and you may not you may end up using the wrong framework. So that is something, that's a small learning curve required to understand what you want and which ones suits for your requirement.
Are you likely to start with a template, Vivek? When you get into Miro, do you normally start with a template or do you start clean? How do you go now?
I started the template because I know exactly what I want. For example, right, I will show you, which I've done some time back, right? So I wanted to, I was comparing, I used to do lots of gaming apps, right? I used to play lots of gaming apps for fun. So just comparing the performance of different apps, right, on different parameters. So for me, I kind of went with this 2x2 kind of matrix.
Okay.
For example, I am comparing these 3 apps, right? Like, which is Winzo, FPL, and Zupi.
Yeah.
Right. So here, the matchmaking is the parameter I took, which is like how fast you're matching with the player, right? And how fast the other players are available to play the match. So between these two criteria, speed of starting the match and availability of the opponents, I just mapped saying, okay, where they sit. Right? So like this, I kind of use for different, for games availability, for how their referral program works, how their SEO works, how their UI UX is. So this, because since I want to kind of put them in these two custom matrix, and I want to position them, okay, where they lie. So for me, this is the best way to do it. So usually I can easily figure, okay, in terms of UI UX, I think MPL is the best, for example, compared to and so on, right? So like you mentioned, I think for me, I just start with the sample template and then just add whatever I want to that.
So how would you search for this? If you had to do something like this, what do? You go into Miroverse and you start typing. Is that how you start?
Sometimes start typing, sometimes I just browse through like what are the options available, right? Because sometimes I might end up finding something new which I never knew existed.
Oh, right? So you're open to, seeing different ways in which something may be represented.
So for example, simple things like flowchart, I know flowchart I want to use, because journey map, I know journey map I want to use. But this is something, these kind of comparisons I don't do on a regular basis, right? So I want to understand, okay, what's the best way to represent visually. So I just kind of, so I have in my mind, but I want to see, okay, is there any better options available? Then I'll see, okay, this is the best option available based on what I want to convey, right? That's how I kind of end up with this kind of 2x2 matrix.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So
And
this kind of, for example, these kind of things you kind of dance off matrix. Like again, it's a different way of positioning, saying okay, where your brand stands, where your competitor stands. If you want to do this kind of analysis, this is also another way of doing
got
it.
it. Would you say if Miro did not have a template library,
Hmm.
I mean, it's a hypothetical question, but if it did not have its template library, would it be as helpful, do you think?
It will there'll be little more friction for sure,
Hmm.
because you are kind of building everything from scratch, right? You're building uh, the entire framework from scratch, right? And so that, and there is no right or wrong way to do it, right? And sometimes you miss out on some great ideas also, because you just do based on whatever you know, right? In your past experience, you may not discover something like, for example, what I discovered with Miro now, right? I might end up doing it in something different way also. So I think for people who are starting with Miro, surely it kind of breaks the ice, and I should be able to
Yeah,
start. It kind of breaks that. I mean, the adoption rate is much higher. Will be much
yeah,
higher because of these ready-made templates available, right? And doing it from scratch, because there are lots of other tools. Then basically we are competing with lots of other existing tools, right? Because I don't want to build a flowchart from scratch. I don't want to keep
right,
each and every block, right? That's very cumbersome.
right.
And having a template like this, right, makes my life easier. I can just click and start using it.
Right, right. So, but it seems like it's not just for new users. Even for you, who's an existing user, you've been using it for 4 to 5 years, like you said, it is helpful to start with templates. So templates are, I mean, it might be fair to say that that is Miro's moat. The
Yeah,
thing that will make people, kind of stick around with this is the template library keeps growing,
yeah.
and um, and it gives you a faster starting point. So I have a related question. So we've talked about how you might bring people into Miro, right, in order to visually see something that's in your head, right? It's a representation. How much time would you say, or how often are you building templates for other people to see and experience versus templates for your own brainstorming needs, would you say, in Miro?
See, for others, it will be like maybe a couple of times a month. It's not like on day-to-day basis,
Okay.
right? Because generally you kind of build it when you are collaborating for a bigger project where you need everyone's inputs,
Hmm.
right? That is when you need to have that kind of collaboration.
Correct.
Sometimes I put my own thoughts, right? That is kind of on day-to-day basis. Whatever I think of certain things where I am not clear of how to structure it, right? That I need a little more structure into my thought process. There I kind of play around with the different templates and see, okay, how it fits and how I can refine that thought process, right? Because for me, it's very critical because I need to be very clear on what ideas I'm working on before even inviting others to collaborate, right? Otherwise, it will
Yes.
be confusing. So my usage is more frequent compared to how much I collaborate with others through Miro.
I see. Is Miro always open? Like, is it like a tab? Is it like your whiteboard, like you said, right? The whiteboard is always on the wall. Is it something that's always open, or is it something that you need to open when you feel like, okay, I need to think about something, let me open up the app? How is it? What's your engagement like?
For me, it's always open. I mean, it's not like I use it on day-to-day basis, but
Yeah,
that tab is always open. So, and I kind of depends on what I'm working on, what I'm thinking. So I
got
just,
it.
yeah.
Got it. Um, so if I had to get into Vivek's head right now as product strategist, you have the tab open, it's just for you. What would be, or what has been the most recent template that you have used or looked for in Miro for something?
Recent tabs. So I think I was looking not for any framework as such, because like you mentioned, right? Since we are in a stage where I do lots of market research, right, with competitors and with the new ideation and everything,
Yeah,
right? So I kind of create a comparison chart with multiple competitors or what are the different areas you want to work with, right? And then kind of compare and contrast, saying, okay, what are the things is similar to what you're what others are already doing, and what are the areas kind of where we can play, basically, where there is no big competitors as such, where we can kind of focus our efforts on.
And
right?
would you build that from scratch? Like, did you just open up a new board, blank canvas, and start creating frames? Is that it?
No, I think I use some board. I need to check. No, I didn't use it from scratch as such, right? And I needed something like this, right? Where I have to compare, for example, something on this line, where I basically here I'm comparing. These are the different, let's say, product features being offered.
Yeah.
So the different competitors, for example, at the x-axis, and whether who is playing in this area, for example, right? Available or not. And so this kind of gives you a summary. Okay, what are the areas which is crowded, which is almost doing, which is not being done. So it kind of visually helps me to figure, okay, these are the areas which I can focus on. Right?
Got it.
I generally do, because at the stage we are in, so that kind of research I do. Currently, I'm doing a lot more.
It's so interesting, Vivek, because as CEO of Poocho, I'm also constantly in strategy mode. I'm constantly thinking about competitors, sales calls. So what you're saying, I get it. I know what I'm living your life to a certain extent. I'm not a product strategist, but I do this in Notion for me. I don't do it visually. So it is very interesting to hear that you have Miro open, and the same database, that inline database that I would create in Notion to start mapping out, who's in what space and what does a grid look like. Yeah. You're doing this in Miro, and the benefit for Miro, I guess, is you're seeing post-its, right? I imagine you're just putting post-its or some elements, basically, and groupings. Yeah. And that is how would you say that is how you that's how things stick for you now, is visually looking at stuff?
Yeah, correct. Because I feel more comfortable with Miro than Notion, I guess, right? And even for all these things, for me the go-to tool is Miro.
That's amazing.
Notion I go generally if you want to kind of do some documentation or certain things which I need to share with the broader group. So more from the documentation point of view, Notion is my go-to tool. But more from ideation point of view, I think for me, Miro is always my go-to tool.
Got it. So can we kind of drill down a little bit more into a blank? If you can just pull up any template, it doesn't matter which one, maybe this one. And I just had a few specific questions that I wanted to ask you.
Okay, this is the template.
All right. No, so let's open it up at a canvas level. Yeah. So if you are in a canvas of Miro, what are some yeah, sure, doesn't matter. What are some features that you're using on a regular basis? Because now Miro started offering a lot more. Not only has it integrated with AI like every other product tool has, but it also has calls that you can do within Miro, and collaboration though is there only, but now you can even record calls and do video conferencing. What are you mostly using? What features on the canvas are you mostly using?
For me, I don't think I'm using it for calling and all the other purposes, right?
Okay.
At least for now. So for me, it's like you mentioned, it's more about the ideation and collaboration. That is my primary go-to tool for primary usage for Miro as such, right? And other than that, so I think for anything else which is happening outside this space, I use different tools. So I don't think I don't think even explored those options with Miro, because maybe I didn't find that value, at least at this point of time. I'm not seeing much value.
Got it. So when it comes to collaboration, are you telling me the biggest thing that you're doing here, once you've set it up, you've used your post-its, your colors, and you've basically set up your canvas, then share, is that it? Like, is that how you're collaborating, or are you doing presentation mode, or like how are you actually collaborating? Like, what are you using on Miro to collaborate?
See, a couple of things. One, for example, if you want to, let's say, like you mentioned, right, when you're doing competitor analysis, right?
Yeah.
Comparing. So when I do it, generally I kind of show it to my founders in a meeting. I show, this is how the entire comparison looks, and these are things which we can focus on and all those stuff, right? So there, the presentation plays a bigger role because I want them to understand what I'm trying to do and also give their inputs. Right?
Are they sitting in the same room with you, or is this a virtual call? Like, how are you actually presenting to them?
Same with, as of now, here it's mostly on the same room, right?
Got it. Okay.
It has been virtual also, right?
Okay.
And once it is done, then what happens is like, so obviously I take their inputs also, right?
Yeah.
See if you want to circulate this to a broader group, right? To get more feedback or saying, okay, this is what you have decided, this is what we are going on, and why are you working on it, so on. And if they have any feedback or comments, they can share.
Yeah.
So then there comes the collaboration bit where anyone who's invited to collaborate can share their comments, and then maybe if anything interesting comes out during the comments, we'll kind of work on it and updating. Okay, these are the things we have updated, and this is what we are going to go ahead with.
Got it. So basically, you're going to present mode shared with your founders. Maybe they leave a few comments. You leave some comments over there. Maybe reorganize some information based on the decisions that you guys have taken together, and then you go to share, and you add other teammates. Is that what's happening to the board?
Yeah, correct. So certain things like mentioned, when you need input from the founders first, get their buy-in first, saying okay, this is what you're working. Then obviously I need to do the presentation for a smaller group to get the buy-in. And once the buy-in is done, then it will be presented to a larger group. And in certain cases where, let's say when you're working on a product feature, right? So there maybe I'll just start with sharing with everyone. I may not have an initial meeting with the founder saying, okay, this is what you're doing, because that is already being discussed and so this is what you want to build. And this is the concept I have built for the particular feature. Now I'll share it with everyone saying, okay, now share your ideas. Now we can.
Got it.
So
once, so let's say you shared with 8 people, okay, like across different stakeholder groups. How are they giving you feedback? Are they leaving comments in the canvas itself, or are you then having a follow-up actual meeting where you've put this up on a board and now you're talking through the ideas? How is the actual collaboration happening?
See, the first point is always do the comment first. Like
comments, okay.
Because the important thing is because let's say someone from sales team might be giving a comment, and same someone from marketing team also might be thinking about, right? So commenting always you will figure out exactly what others are thinking, right? You kind of get an idea what are different comments being shared, and you might get some idea based on the comments also.
Yeah.
It's important to kind of encourage to put as much comments as possible, so almost everyone knows exactly these are comments we're getting, and then we kind of collate all the comments which you feel like okay we can discuss a little more on that, and or there's any clarity required on certain comments, right? So then goes to the next part, which can be a bigger meeting or that can be a messages in the Slack and so on, depending on the type of thing we are working on. But I always prefer comments to be done first because I want that involvement from other team members also to spend time and put comments. Then as next step, you collate and then figure out what to do next.
Understood. So it's not like in when someone leaves a comment, are you replying to that comment in Miro itself, or are you then collating it and then having a conversation? I guess what I'm trying to get at is the experience on Miro for commenting conducive for multiple comment threads in your mind? Like, is it a good experience or a helpful experience, or do you usually just use this for first level comments and then things move on to another platform?
So I try to reply as much as possible within the comments itself, because certain comments, I mean, they might be giving certain idea which we might don't want to do at that point of time. So I need to kind of mention that saying, okay, this may not be something we can't do now, for example. Certain comments, maybe I need some clarity, I need to ask a few more questions and they can reply on it and so on, right? So I try to reply as much as possible within the comments itself. And the subsequent meeting would be to kind of give everyone a clear idea, saying, because you may not look at each and every comment, right? You might look at what are comments, you might miss other comments also. So that the subsequent meeting will help everyone to bring on the same page, saying, okay, this is the things which you have kind of considered, which are things we didn't consider. This is the final kind of concept note you're looking at, and this is how you're going to build. And so almost everyone will be on the same page, and then you can move to the next.
Got it. if there was anything that you would have liked to see incorporated or integrated into Miro that you don't already see, is there anything like that that comes to mind or that you've thought about that's missing?
See, incorporation, see, for me, I would say the templates can be a little more simplified, like
Okay.
can be grouped a little more easier, so people won't get lost in the list of templates, right? So I think I think that is one thing I would suggest, that they can make a little more, the grouping can be much better currently,
Okay.
right? And that is one. Other than that, I think collaboration between maybe between, I don't know currently whether they have collaboration between tools like Figma or Notion,
Hmm.
because if you look at generally, I have seen lots of designers also use Miro board for their vision or for the user research, right? And this user research get converted into Figma designs basically,
Hmm.
and that might get converted into a product requirement document, which is PRD
Yes.
in uh, Google Docs or in Notion, right? So we're linking between these three, right? Because that's a kind of value chain I can see across
Yeah.
between designers, product teams, technology teams, and everyone, right? So everything is kind of linked together, right? So I think that is something that would be great if you're able to link. If you do any changes in the design, right, that should reflect in my Figma and in the PRD, right? Basically, all three
Hmm.
are tightly coupled, right? So
Right.
particularly when you do when you combine user research and user design along with the product requirement documents.
Got it. Got it. And at the template level, the better grouping is it just a factor of just too many templates, or do you actually believe that the wording is different? Like they need to rethink their nomenclature of how they're putting templates out.
I would say too many templates also,
Too many
because I
templates.
think, or say the grouping could be based on they can do it based on industries, or like, because it's everyone doesn't
Hmm.
use every
Interesting.
templates, right? So it could be based on industries, and uh, so that would be easy for me to kind of relate, saying, okay, this is something I can look at, right, and so on.
Right. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Um, okay. Is there, in addition to, we can stop the screen share right now, actually. Just some general questions as we wrap up.
Yeah.
So this was fascinating. How you use Miro, especially the fact that you use it for everything. For, just anytime there's a thought, that's your go-to space to put ideas down and think through things. Um, what would you recommend to people who are getting into product strategy? Um, you know, um, Even if they're CEOs, founders, thinking about using tools to help them ideate better. You have Miro. Are there other things that are also helping you ideate better, or would you say that Miro is good enough? There's not much in your toolkit beyond that for the ideation brainstorming part.
See, I would say I think depends. I think it depends on the strength of each and every individual, because
Hmm.
everyone may not be inclined to visual representation of stuff, right? They might be
Yeah.
someone very strong in writing a very crisp document, right?
Yeah.
And they can use simple images within the document to convey what they want to convey, right?
Yeah.
So personally, what I've seen is like, it's you have to understand what your strength is and play with that strength,
Yeah.
right? With certain things which is not you are comfortable with,
Yeah.
right? If you're with visual representation, then yes, some people might be directly go with Figma. I've seen people directly doing designs in Figma, because
Right.
that's
Right.
how they kind of think how the screen should look, how the page should look, and so on, right?
Correct.
That is their way of doing it, right? So I think tools wise, I think tools again, it's a means to communicate, right? At the end of the day, it's just a means to
That's right.
communicate, right? And it's up to you exactly what you think is the right tool for you. And again, for example, maybe some certain companies may not want to get Miro licenses, as simple as that.
That's
What
right. Correct.
next time I'll join somewhere where they don't have Miro license, so I can't use Miro, right? Then I have to figure
Yeah.
out what else I can use.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
adaptability should be there, right? Because tools are like, every company has their own way of purchasing different tools based on the costing structure and so on, right? And
Right.
I think whatever works for you, and obviously it's very important to understand what works within the company also, because I can use Miro if no one is interested in using Miro. They are not,
Yeah.
then there's no point in using Miro. Maybe the
Yeah.
company like Amazon use writing documents, right? That is their
Mhm.
culture. I can't go to Amazon and share a Miro board with them.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so it's up to the company's culture also, what fits and what works there, and what's a go-to tool there.
Yeah.
And the adaptability should be there. The flexibility should be there for every PM or anyone who works
Yeah.
in this space, right? That's what generally I feel like. It's not like these
Got
two
it.
are. It's all about
Yeah.
what works for you and what works for the organization.
Any last words on the role of Miro in helping you strategize better?
So, see, I would say it helps me to put my thought process in a clear way. It helps me to
Yeah.
organize my thought process, right?
Yeah.
Because still I like to write a lot and
Yeah.
to kind of put down my thoughts in Miro. So it helps me to organize my thoughts, right? So that is
Yeah.
what always helped me compared to any other tool, right?
Got it.
And so I think from that point of view, I think I would say to structure my thoughts
Yeah.
primarily, right? And helps me to visually understand what is lacking in my thought process, right? And helps me to kind of plug that holes actually.
Yeah. So its templates are both a blessing and a curse. There are too many of them, but at the same time, there are enough of them for you to think of a different way of visualizing something that might have been in your head. So it's helpful in that regard. Vivek, thank you so much for your time. I mean, this is a late night call for the both of us, and I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this. And I wish you a good night and a good rest of the week.
Yeah. Thanks, Topsy. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.